This review of Phantasy Star Online 2 may contain spoilers and coarse language. If neither of those bother you, then have fun watching this review. 70 freaking hours. That is how much time I spent playing this game just so I could get enough stuff for this review. Oh, but the best part was I enjoyed every minute of it. I gotta get this off my chest. I just gotta say this. Phantasy Star Online 2 is amazing. This is without a doubt one of the most fun video games I've ever played. And I've played a lot of video games here, and Phantasy Star Online 2 was able to go all the way up to the top in no effort at all. It's just a game where you keep learning more and more things about it, and it just gets more exciting. There's so much to do, so much to see. But they all mesh into one complete, full, and happy experience. And there's only one place we can start with this. So let's begin with the story. Breaking traditional JRPG standard, you actually do get to create your character right at the start. Now, after you're done creating your waifu character, you meet this character named Finn, who is a new member and your partner of the Ark's crew. The entire plot to Phantasy Star Online 2 is literally just fight the Darkers. That's it. It's literally just that. Now, there's a giant elephant in the room, and while my roommate doesn't like me talking to him like this, I should probably say that even though I've gotten 70 hours of gameplay out of this game, I barely touched the story. In fact, a lot of people who played this game ignored it. Strangely enough, for an action RPG, story does take a backseat in this game. But there is one thing that you should be paying attention to, and that would be the matter boards. The matter board is basically where you get all of your plot progression points. You have to find certain items in certain areas, and you just keep kind of unlocking gates as you go. It's a motivational tool in order for you to go back to previous stages and find items you wouldn't normally get. It's actually kind of funny, because you can ignore the matter board and still get through the story mode. Like, you can just play random stages and you'll be able to find all the items you need. So, the matter board can be entirely ignored just like the rest of the story, but if you want to follow the story, you are also free to. So the story mode was clearly taking a back seat when it came to this game's development. But what wasn't? The gameplay. Gameplay is one half of the beacon that is what makes Phantasy Star Online 2 so great. There is absolutely limitless kinds of things that you can do in the Phantasy Star games, and man, oh man, 2, they really pushed it here. Starting with the combat, Phantasy Star Online 2 certainly has some combat to talk about. The combat for this game is one that's very similar to an action hack-and-slash game. You have a standard left-click attack, which is a 3-hit combo. You have a shift button, which is dedicated for either doing A, alternate moves, or B, dodging. However, the right mouse button is dedicated to making your own photon art combos. Photon arts are considered magical physical spells in which you do a bunch of damage all at once. However, at contrast, you drain your PP meter. The PP gauge serves as a sort of magic bar in this game. It regenerates quickly, and as you hit enemies, you can also get some PP back. Clever usage of using regular moves and using PP photon arts and magic are really what you need to do to master the combat in this game. As well, you can double tap any of the keys in order for you to dodge. One of the things you'll notice when you're in an adventure field is that you'll also have randomized events that'll come up at any moment at any time. These events can range from defeating this Sonic OC to defending a pilot, and heck, even getting yourself out of a big cage. These definitely help to mix up your gameplay experience when you're down there, and they give you bonus experience points for completing them. However, sometimes you can get too many of them at once, and I've been in a situation where I had 4 active at once, and it was not fun for me or my friend. Skills and statistics also play a pretty big part as you develop your character. You have regulars like HP and dexterity, but you also get striking attack for physical weapons such as melee and fists, ranged for guns and bows, and technical for magic. And you also get defense for said stats. As previously stated in the beginning, your race and your sex both play a role on your statistics. As an example, humans are really good fighters. However, male humans are better fighters than female ones. Female ones are better bouncers. But that doesn't need to worry you, because when you start the game, you can just change your class. Yep, you can literally just change your class if you don't like it. By changing your class, the only thing you lose is your current level, and instead you get an entirely new class that you can level up. You still get your story quest, and you still get all your missions and places that you visited. It extends a lot of length for this game, and I think that's a really brilliant system to it. But of course, changing your class means you have an entirely new skill tree that you can maximize and customize to your content. So the level design here, it's pretty interesting because the level design in this game is actually randomly generated. Despite it being randomized, I have to say, I'm impressed with the algorithm that they used because a lot of these levels can look really fucking cool and play just as cool as they look. Now, of course, using an algorithm like this, you're gonna run into, say, copycat models, so there's gonna be parts where it's like, hey, I've seen this before, I've seen that a lot. It's most noticeable in the earlier stages because they don't seem to have that many assets. But when you get further and further into the game, it starts to get even more creative. Sometimes they even reuse the same assets, but change just enough to make it look like a totally different set piece. Among that, puzzles can also be found within these stages, and said puzzles are also randomized. Not just randomized, but they also found ways where you can hide multiple buttons and switches to activate a certain secret area. It's amazing. It's really cool. They're randomized. They're totally randomized, but they can still make you look for them and still try to find a solution. My only complaint is that because these puzzles are randomized, you never really get any deep and complex ones until you unlock a time attack mode in which the levels aren't randomly generated anymore. And they have some pretty fucking cool puzzles. And is a great thing with all action RPGs is that there's a lot of loot to find. But you won't really want to find it. A lot of the loot in Phantasy Star Online 2 is not as randomized as you may imagine. A lot of loot falls into the same tier of how much damage it can do, with some of the effects being different. But what you want to aim for would be the rare items. Rare weapons look a lot cooler, do a lot more damage, and are probably going to be your main weapon until you find a better one. Plus, there are tons of items that you can use to boost your chances to find a rare item. So if you have them, I'd highly recommend using them. Now when it comes to the main bulk of this game, its questing features, there's two kinds. One is the Ark's Road, and the Ark's Road is a tutorial way of having you advance through the game. That's pretty much how the Ark's Road works. You just have these tutorials, and once you get through them, you unlock some new stuff. And at the beginning, it's best if you do a little bit of it, because you're kind of stuck with the same few stages until you get through the Ark's Road. But it's worth it. It's really worth it. You get some nice experience points, and then you finally get to go on to way more exotic places than the fucking forest. The second kind of branch of questing are client orders. And client orders are, to sum it up, NPC quests. One of the nice things about these, though, is that as you get through them, you get a shitload of money, and you get a shitload of experience. While the same mission structure follows from a typical MMO, you do get a lot more experience and a lot more gold from these. So much so, in fact, they're pretty much the main source of where you're supposed to go to level up and get money. So doing them and making questing important kind of makes this game lean more towards a Western RPG, as questing is more important in those kinds of games. But a really nice addition would have to be the daily orders. Daily orders are pretty much randomized client orders that, well, happen daily. There's always going to be something new and interesting, along with it, a featured quest to boot. So, say there's 3 daily orders for that same quest area, you go there, you can get about 30,000 experience, and in that moment, the game has taught you that it can keep your attention just for that moment of the day. As I said, the client orders are the main way for you to level up, get money, and really advance through the game. So do them! Some of them can just be pretty much add-ons to a quest you might be doing right now. Say you might have to go to the end of the forest stage, and you'll be like, hey, if you can get to the end of the forest stage, it'll give you some money. Okay, I'll do that. They're easy to find, they're easy to do, and heck, you can even repeat some of them if you really want to, and get the same reward. So why not? Why not do them? Do them! That's your main source of everything! You have to do them! But yeah, really, Phantasy Star Online 2's gameplay is phenomenal. There's great combat, there's great level design, even though it's randomized, and there's also a lot of questing that you can do. It feels a lot more like a traditional Western RPG than it does a JRPG, and that's something I can really take to heart. When it comes to this game socially, really, like, the social thing, as much as people want to deny it, it's about as big as the gameplay. I'm going to tell you why. When it comes down to the 70 plus hours I've been playing in this game to review it, like, literally about, say, 25 of it has literally just been me and my friends just talking. Socially, it's kind of a big deal here in Phantasy Star Online 2. The main thing about Phantasy Star Online 2 is that if you're in the middle of a quest, people can just join. You can turn it off, but people literally just can join you. So if you're right in the middle of something, people can just be like, hey, are you in a quest? I'm joining you. Okay, come aboard. Let's do this shit, man. Let's go. Phantasy Star Online 2 really does have a good emphasis on socialness because it almost forces you into it. And even then, even the most socially inept people can still get used to a lot of the social features that Phantasy Star Online 2 offers. One of the bigger things is the team feature, and to me, teams are kind of a big deal. Teams are what the main bulk of Phantasy Star Online 2 is. They're similar to clans in a regular MMO, and you can meet a lot of nice people in there. In fact, I've actually encouraged a lot of people to join my team, so it's really nice. But, you know, the Burbing Rangers will rise. They will rise after they get a name change, but they will rise! Another feature is all the chat commands that you can do. You have avatar manga cut-ins, so as you're saying something, you can have your stupid grinning face over it. And it's really, really funny, because especially with what you can emphasize and do, Phantasy Star Online 2 has quite a very flexible chat command system. You can have a lot of different effects when you talk to people like this, but the thing is, you don't really talk like that in battle. These kind of chat commands are made specifically just for talking to people when you're not doing a mission. And they're really fun. They are really, really fun. But you know what the most fun part about it is? You can have dedicated shortcuts to some chat commands. So as you can see here, all I gotta do is hit Control F1 and Control F2 and I can just keep doing this. And it's great. It's really great. And then another thing is you can have the entire chorus to where to hood at and bound it to F5 to F8. You know, you just have that ability. You can do that. And that's why I really like this game. You can do it if you want. But another cool thing are auto words, where you can have it so that after certain events or certain actions, you will automatically say something even if you're in a mission. I myself took a custom to these because I thought of a lot of stupid things I'd like to say when I'm in the middle of a battle. But I can't type it up, so the game does it for me! And the auto words do add a little bit of personality to your character, so when you play through missions, you're not just some silent, screaming, arrogant person. You can actually still communicate to some people. But what really makes the auto words great is that when you use them, you're able to communicate with people if you can't actually say anything to them. Health is low? Well, you can tell them that too. You're knocked unconscious? You can tell them that too. That's what makes the auto words so great. And also they're great because you can put whatever the hell you want, and it makes it even funnier. So, yeah. But as it stands, social interaction in the Phantasy Star games is big. It's a very, very big thing. And I would say it's one of the big factors that goes along with the gameplay. Sure, the gameplay itself can stand on its own, but holy shit! If I've shown you some of the pictures from my you know what, I'm going to do that. Here are some pictures I've taken on my Steam page. Being social in this game is a pretty big thing. And if you can't get into that, at least the gameplay itself alone can still satisfy you. But man, oh man, when you get into the social aspect, it feels like a much more complete game. The amount of times I've spent shitposting in this game is truly astronomical. But let me tell you, socially, this game, this is the other big thing with the game. It's social. It's a very social game. So if you can't get into that, well, I'm sorry, but the gameplay is still really good. And if you want to get into social, man, you are going to have a ball of a time. Now, the graphics for Phantasy Star Online 2. Holy shit. I've neglected to actually put any footage of this stage because I think it's the best looking. But look at this. I'm flabbergasted, really. Like, literally flabbergasted. I lost words. I've dropped my jaw many times in this game because of how pretty it looked. This game is gorgeous. And I'm one of the last people to be a graphics whore, but man, even with some of the dated geometry, some of the levels look like they have, this game is pretty. It's beautiful. You want to look at it. There's very clever use of the art style among it. It's a very, very good looking game. But the best part is, it can run on even the worst kinds of computers. Here are the minimum requirements for this game. An NVIDIA 7800. They don't even make those cards anymore. But here's the cool thing. If you have a nice computer, you can use that power with this game, and it can look a lot better. And if you have a crappy computer, you can still play the game and have it run at 60 frames. Really, this thing is an optimization miracle. It can run on any computer, and if you have a nice computer, you can buff it up. You really have no excuse at this point to not play it. Like you really don't. But we're not done here. I forgot to talk about the audio. Now, one of the nicer things here is that you have to realize this is a Sega video game. What does Sega video games have? Good freaking music. And this game is not an exception. As you can hear from just the gameplay itself, a lot of the music sounds pretty orchestral. There's also a lot of very upbeat kind of tunes with it. And there's a seamless transition between battle themes and the regular stage hub themes. And it's noticeable in a sense. It's noticeable in the sense that it's seamless. You don't notice it. You're like, oh hey, now I'm in the battle. That's really what a nice cool thing about this game is. It does have a dynamic music feature to it. And that's great, because now audio can seamlessly transition into one another. You will like the soundtrack, but the problem is, as I said in the gameplay section, you will be retreading a lot of these areas, so you might get sick of the soundtracks. And if that's the case, you can put on some of your own music. If you can go into the team room and you can set it to Eggman from Sonic Adventure 2, you know you have a good selection of audio. But now the real question comes up, the final boss of this whole review. What would I do to change the game? Actually, as Phantasy Star stands, it's pretty much a quintessential game, and there's not a lot I would want to change about it. But to overuse this song here, there is one tiny thing I'd like. Like, literally, that's the only thing I would do. The game is actually out in English in Southeast Asia, and as we all know, Southeast Asia isn't America. So I'd really like to see this game actually have an official American release with American servers and American people on it. Let me just say I'm a little bit sick of getting called burger people, and I would really like to be with people that are similar to me. So to sum it up, what is Phantasy Star Online 2? It's an action JRPG MMO, and man oh man is it a fun game. There are so many different things that you can do gameplay-wise. There's a lot of great social interaction. There's nice graphics, and it can run on any computer, and the audio is really well done. Oh, and there's a story, I guess. Who gives a shit? And that's how I'd sum up Phantasy Star Online 2. It's a fantastic game to play, and I would highly recommend it for anyone else. It's actually going to be kind of difficult to set this game up because Phantasy Star Online 2, as I said, doesn't have an official American release. There are a lot of English patches and stuff out there, and as much as I'd love to tell you how to do it in this video, I'm not. So, have fun looking for those yourself. And if you can play it, you better freaking play it. This game is fucking amazing. Well, I can't wait to work on this next review. It's gonna be great! And I can't wait to tell everyone I'm gonna review